Discover the touching truth how a hidden love transformed a woman's life in 30 incredible days. Anna glanced at the dusty box in her grandmother's attic, a mermaid trapped beneath years of neglect. Inside lay fragile letters, yellowed from time but still bursting with secrets, whispering stories of a hidden love that crossed boundaries and societal expectations. Her heart raced. It felt almost forbidden to touch them. Wasn't this just another diversion, another layer atop the monotonous life she had built, anchored to her aging parents who needed her more than she needed herself? The dreams she had nurtured to advance from a nurse to a nurse practitioner faded into the background like a lost melody. Cleaning out the attic was a chore, yet Anna felt a flicker of curiosity rise alongside the dust particles glimmering in the light. With shaky hands, she opened the first letter. As she read her grandmother's words of longing for a man not accepted by family ties, Anna's breath shortened. Fears surfaced within her. Fear of losing her own identity, her stability, her perfectly curated life molded by obligation. The realization had been creeping in for years, whispering insidiously, but now it roared like a storm. What about her? What did she want? A chuckle bubbled from the back of her throat, half laugh, half cry. Love had always seemed a distant feeling. Love was the crumpled note passed on in a high school hallway, not the earnest connection her grandmother had sought. Was she capable of such defiance? Her mind tumbled through the night she had spent swaying between the vulnerable needs of her family and the blossoming hopes that lay buried in the shadows of her heart. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now, let's continue. The moment her eyes traced the elegant loops of her grandmother's handwriting, a profound longing unfurled within Anna. This wasn't just a romantic dalliance. It was a rejection of the mundane. A testament to the audacious spirit of a woman willing to risk everything for love. Anna clasped the letters to her chest, chaos swirling in her mind. The weight of her current reality crushed her. Each extension over nights spent at the hospital, each compromise made to appease her parents, started to feel suffocating. When she crossed paths with Jack, the artist she had known in school, something flickered within her, almost like recognizing a kindred spirit. He smiled, and Anna felt a rush, a memory of laughter that had vibrated through her veins. But then came the familiar pang of guilt, the expectation looming large. Her family would never accept it. Thoughts spiraled. Would their anticipated happiness crumble under the choice she dared to entertain? The letters in her hands pulsed with energy. They whispered of love and bravery, yet the notion of breaking free terrified her. As she toyed with the idea of pursuing this sliver of happiness, echoes of doubt reverberated. It felt as though she stood at a precipice, peering into an abyss where her family relied on her, and Jack ignited something wondrous but also terrifying. Anna's breath hitched as the confrontation loomed. Her heart now drummed anxiously. Would she brave a life transformed by love, or adhere to the well-tread path of obligation? Silence settled around her as she weighed the consequences in an agonizing pause. The choice unfurling like the very letters she now held, teetering between duty and passion. The attic felt cavernous as Anna pondered her position. She was no longer just a nurse unable to pursue her own ambitions. She was a woman perched precariously between expectation and desire. The letters scattered on the floor, now laid out like a fragmented map of her grandmother's secret life, called to her with a voice she couldn't ignore. If her grandmother had the courage to embrace passion despite the fear, what was stopping her? With every letter she read, Anna sensed a burgeoning resolve within herself, an insatiable curiosity mixing with a dollop of fear. In her grandmother's words, a tapestry of longing and regret, Anna began to detect a reflection of her own internal battles. Her grandmother had dared to break away from societal chains, and now it was Anna's turn to confront her own constraints. Could she cultivate her hidden desires without the need for apology? The thought gnawed at her. Nurses were always caretakers. They devote themselves to patients, often at the expense of their own dreams. And while her dedication was admirable, what was left of Anna when her life revolved around another's needs? As images of everyday responsibilities flooded her mind, medical charts, family obligations, she understood that she could not allow her grandmother's spirit to fade into mere memory. Compelled by newfound determination, Anna ventured further into her grandmother's past. She meticulously organized the letters, reading each as if it were a portal. She would keep her grandmother's memory alive, not by succumbing to despair, but by boldly reclaiming her right to pursue happiness. This, however, required acknowledging Jack, the artist whose smile now danced through her consciousness like the flicker of a candle in a darkened room. Could she afford to embrace this connection? The thought jolted her. Anna took a deep breath and fished out her phone, her fingers frozen momentarily above the screen. Should she text him? Each word seemed to hold gravity. A voice in her head urged caution, yet the sparks ignited by her grandmother's hidden love urged her to go ahead. Finally, she typed out, "Hey, Jack, I've been thinking about our time together. Can we meet?" A ripple of anxiety echoed after hitting send, as if she had leapt into unknown waters. Would her desire for authenticity retreat upon facing him? Just moments passed, and the silence felt unbearable. But then a message dinged back. "I'd love that. How about Saturday?" Joy and anxiety tangled like vines in her chest. The thought of seeing Jack brought vivid images of laughter and resonance, the kind of soul-stirring joy her everyday existence lacked. Suddenly, the notion of pursuing nursing was eclipsed by a desire to explore life beyond the confines of her routine. For the first time, Anna contemplated that the roles she played at the hospital didn't define her. Exploring connections might nudge her into the woman she'd hidden beneath layers of duty. Yet, as the excitement coursed through her veins, darkness loomed. Questions spiraled. How to explain this to her family? What if they oppose her choices? The confrontation with her inner turmoil was pressing, no longer distant and abstract. The looming meeting with Jack was more than just a reunion. It was a shot at reclaiming her life, and that made her heart race with fear, but also thrill. Bracing herself for a reality where she could balance love with obligation, Anna stood at a radical threshold. She sensed that the conversation looming ahead with Jack could serve as a platform for her transformation. But in the back of her mind, the weight of her family's expectations threatened to crush her renewed spirit. Would she share her journey? The weekend approached, heavy with anticipation. As Anna prepared to navigate the newfound path between duty and passion, one truth became clear. She was standing at a pivotal moment of reckoning. The choice between pursuing love or retreating into safety hovered tantalizingly close. What would this decision reveal about the woman she was becoming? A rush of determination surged through her, amplifying the tension that crackled in the air as Saturday drew near. The time had come to confront not only her feelings for Jack, but the very essence of who she was destined to become. Would she have the courage to embrace love and step into a future that truly reflected her heart's desires? As Anna stood in front of the mirror that Saturday morning, the sunlight streamed through the window, revealing the fleeting nature of her life. The reflection staring back was more than just a nurse. It was a woman on the brink of change, a vessel filled with untapped potential. She brushed her hair with deliberate strokes, her thoughts a tumultuous mix of excitement and trepidation. Each action felt significant today. The way she fastened her earrings, the outfit she selected, all meticulously chosen as if preparing for a battle against the constraints that held her back. Her phone buzzed, pulling her from her reverie. A message from Jack, "Looking forward to seeing you later." The simple words sent a thrill coursing through her, but they also brought an onslaught of doubt. What if this meeting unveiled her as unworthy of his attention? What if her aspirations crumbled like so many brittle bones? She took a moment to ground herself, focusing on her breath. This would not be a day of retreat. It marked a departure from her past. After a quick breakfast, Anna drove to the cafe where they agreed to meet. She replayed comforting memories of laughter shared with Jack, but alongside those sweet recollections arose the haunting whispers of obligation divided against her desires. It became increasingly apparent that this moment surpassed mere affection. It was about defining herself, shedding the layers that softened her spirit over the years. Upon arriving, she spotted Jack at a table in the corner, sketchbook open, pencil dancing across the page. His concentration was palpable, and the sight stirred within her an appreciation for authenticity, the very quality she sought for herself. As she approached, parts of her felt vulnerable and exposed, like a new leaf in the spring light. Would he see through her facade? "Hey," Anna greeted, forcing a smile that didn't quite mask her nervousness. Jack glanced up, his eyes brightening with recognition. He attracted her effortlessly, his demeanor igniting something within her that had long been dormant. "Anna, you look fantastic," he said, closing his sketchbook. Suddenly, the initial seriousness of the moment dissipated into warmth. They shared small talk, recounting anecdotal memories, each laugh transporting Anna closer to the woman she wanted to be. Her anxieties began to fade, replaced by a burgeoning confidence. Here, she wasn't merely a nurse, she was herself, fully present and engaged. As their conversation deepened, Anna felt the boundary blurring between their previous encounters and the one unfolding now. She craved honesty, not just playful banter. Taking a steadying breath, she ventured into unexplored territory. "Jack, I've been on a journey lately, realizing I want more from life than the day-to-day routine." Jack nodded, his eyes encouraging. "I figured something was brewing below the surface. You've always been more than just a nurse." His questioning gaze compelled her to dig deeper. "What if I fail? What if I disappoint the ones I care about?" she admitted, the weight of fear bustling within her. In that moment, Anna felt the full complexity of her dilemma. The intricacies of family expectations and the pangs of wanting to follow her heart were thorny, intertwined like the roots of an ancient tree. Jack's presence felt like a lifeline, inviting her to confront these fears rather than hide from them. "You won't know unless you try," he encouraged softly. "And I believe you can. I don't think anyone would want to see you less happy because of them." His words resonated deeply, nudging her towards a realization. Perhaps staying true to herself wouldn't mean betraying her family, but asserting her values and intentions. As the conversation flowed, Anna felt a resolve building. She could not simply tread lightly on this newfound path. Thoughts flickered through her mind, a vision of herself breaking free, a fierce advocate for her dreams. But somewhere in that moment of clarity, uneasiness stirred again. Would she be able to take this step when the truth loomed like a shadow above her, demanding confrontation with her family's expectations? The sunlight streaming through the cafe windows felt too bright, illuminating the shadowy, unresolved conflict waiting on the horizon. Jack's laughter interrupted her spiraling thoughts. "Are you with me?" he asked, a hint of teasing lacing his words. Yes, she said, though her voice bore a weight. But the uncertainty still hovered, anchored by the inevitable confrontation awaiting her back home. Would the strength drawn from this moment sustain her against the challenges ahead? With one last searching glance at Jack, Anna found a flicker of courage. What lay beyond this moment? Would it be liberation or despair? The choice seemed more monumental than ever. And yet, as the door opened to the world outside, she thought of the letters, the stories of her grandmother, all whispering the same luminous truth. Passion was worth pursuing. The day was still young, and the path stretched ahead like an uncharted canvas. Would she paint it in vibrant hues, or would she fold back into the monochrome of conformity? Now more than ever, it was clear the time had come not only to embrace love, but also to unravel her family's expectations. Would she hold true to herself as she prepared for that confrontation, or would fear dictate her fate? The air outside the cafe was crisp, invigorating, and tinged with a hint of uncertainty that reflectively mirrored Anna's internal landscape. The anticipation of her conversation with Jack lingered in her mind, a spark igniting a flicker of determination. Clutching the strap of her purse tightly, she stepped away from the warmth of their shared moments, plunging into the reality that awaited her at home. Each turn of the wheel on her drive felt like a tread on an uneven path. When she thought of her family's expectations, it felt as if she were driving against a current. How could she chase dreams that seemed so foreign to them? Her heart raced with the familiar tug-of-war, balancing affection for her family with the insistent whisper of her own desires. Returning home, the familiar smell of dinner wafted through the air. Her mother's careful preparation indicated the night was not just any evening. It was one of routine gatherings filled with stories that centered on stability and tradition. Anna braced herself, reminding herself of the previous conversation she had overheard. Her mother's gentle chastisements about career choices, her father's silent but penetrating expectations. Each moment spent in the house felt increasingly like a gilded cage, despite the warmth that wrapped around her. "Anna, is that you?" her mother's voice called out, an undertone of eagerness evident even from the kitchen. "Yeah, I'm home," she responded, the words coming out lighter than the weight on her chest. While setting her bag down, her mind replayed Jack's encouraging words, a mantra against the doubting gravity of her family's expectations. Dinner proceeded as expected, filled with laughter and tales about her siblings' triumphs. Each anecdote of their successes felt like a nail being driven deeper in the coffin of her dreams. As she feigned interest, a voice in her head screamed for authenticity, yearning to voice her truth. But the words lodged themselves like stones in her throat. "Anna, you haven't said much tonight. How's work? Are you still on that same shift?" Her father's question pierced through the convivial atmosphere, drawing her momentarily away from the tangle of her thoughts. "Yes, Dad, same routine," she replied. The words felt heavy, like a weight shackling her spirit. "Maybe you should think about switching things up. It's important to find your path," he suggested, oblivious to the irony of his words. Sanctuary lay in the confines of her room, where the walls echoed her unspoken desires. After dinner, Anna sat on her bed, her sketchbook open before her, blank pages reflecting the emptiness she felt inside. Picking up her pencil, she hesitated, grappling with the urge to create versus the familiar fear of inadequacy. What if she were not enough? With a sharp breath, she began to draw what she envisioned, a vibrant landscape, bursting with expansive colors that cheated conformity. Each stroke of her pencil was a tender rebellion, a declaration of her essence that long yearned for freedom. The heaviness began to lift, and as she sketched the horizons of her dreams, the constraints of her day-to-day life slowly melted away. But the stark reality of her family's expectations loomed just beyond her self-made escape. Something had to change. She couldn't live two lives, one inside the comforting shadows of family and the other bursting forth in full bloom. Would asserting her true desires split the fragile bonds holding her family together? In the solitude of the night, Anna felt the looming decision pressing against her heart. The shadows of family legacy dampened her exhilaration, twisting it into an intense internal conflict. Would she embrace her artistic calling, even if it meant risking family disapproval? As dawn approached, illuminating her sketch with the same radiant sunlight that ignited her previous confidence, Anna faced the next step, confronting her family with her dreams. But would she have the courage to speak her truth? Would the desire for authenticity overshadow the fear of tearing apart the fabric of her family? In the solitude of the night, Anna felt the looming decision pressing against her heart. The shadows of family legacy dampened her exhilaration, twisting it into an intense internal conflict. Would she embrace her artistic calling, even if it meant risking family disapproval? As dawn approached, illuminating her sketch with the same radiant sunlight that ignited her previous confidence, Anna faced the next step, confronting her family with her dreams. But would she have the courage to speak her truth? Would the desire for authenticity overshadow the fear of tearing apart the fabric of her family? With the brush poised to paint her future, Anna felt a rush of hope battling against a welling tide of apprehension. She understood that the conversation with her family would be pivotal, either anchoring her to her past or launching her into the life she yearned to embrace. And as the sunrise broke through her window, she pondered, would she let fear stifle her evolution, or would she finally take the bold leap towards the life she dared to imagine? The sunlight spilled gently into Anna's room, casting playful shadows that danced across her walls, but the warmth felt distant. As she sat on her bed, her sketchbook now a testament to her restless dreams, uncertainty settled within her. Today was the day. It lingered in the air like a promise, tinged with anxiety. With her pulse quickening, Anna recalled her conversation with Jack the other day, his words echoing in her mind. You have a fire within you. Let it shine. The doubt she often felt now faced off against this newfound flicker of conviction, a welcome spark threatening to illuminate her path. Making a decision began with outlining her thoughts. She grabbed a fresh page, writing in bold letters at the top, "What do I want?" It felt simple yet powerful, almost rebellious on the blank canvas. As she jotted down her aspirations, an exhilarating rush coursed through her. She fumbled with each word, her emotions spilling onto the page. "I want to be a painter" became the most prominent line. But behind that simple declaration lay a labyrinth of fears. Each additional sentence confronted a shadow of doubt. Will they understand? What if I fail? Can I live with the consequences? In a moment of clarity, she paused. Her family cherished tradition, admired stability. But what if they witnessed her passion, not as rebellion, but as an evolution of their own legacy? Perhaps she could integrate her love for art with their values. Instead of splitting apart, the two could coexist. Yet envisioning that scene brought with it a fear just as potent. The imagined conversation became a swirling tempest, her heart racing as she contemplated her mother's gentle smile morphing into disappointment, or her father's silence turning heavy with unspoken disapproval. Anna tightened her grip on the pencil, drawing small circles on the page to ground herself, embracing the weight of her choice. The sun climbed higher, illuminating her sketchbook. A sense of urgency stirred in her, evidence of the time ticking away and the inevitability of confronting her family. There was no perfect moment to initiate this dialogue, and she knew she had to just begin. With steady breaths, Anna rationalized her plan. She would gather her family in the living room, present them with her artwork, and share her desires openly. "This is me," she would say, stripping away the facade she had worn for too long. As the day progressed, she prepared herself, not just with her sketches, but with words. Every brushstroke on the canvas reflected her spirit. There had to be a way to share this with her family. What if they saw her art not as a departure, but a bold step toward understanding who she really was? An hour before dinner, she stood poised in front of her easel, a vibrant piece, evaluating every color she had carefully chosen. Splashes of brilliant tones screamed of life, passion, and hope. It was not just a painting, it was Anna unraveling her essence. When the clock struck 6 and the familiar sounds of her father's laughter echoed from the dining room, the moment had arrived. Heart pounding, she tucked her sketchbook under her arm and took a deep breath, steeling herself for the inevitable confrontation. As she approached, the air thickened with tension, the warmth from before dissipating into an uncertain chill. Would they embrace her truth, or would they resist the winds of change? The initial smiles of her family dimmed as she set her work before them, and Anna felt the weight of their collective gaze, a moment caught between anticipation and fear. "Can I tell you all something?" she began, voice steady but trembling at the edges. A realization washed over her. Confronting her truth was her own promise to herself, a critical statement of her determination to evolve. This wasn't just a discussion. This was the manifestation of her dreams and values colliding head-on. How would they receive this part of her? And as she opened her mouth against the swell of trepidation, she felt a growing possibility, an ebbing tide that whispered, this was only the beginning. Anna's heart raced as her words hung in the air, suspended between her and her family. Their eyes were wide, a mixture of curiosity and confusion etched on their faces. She felt as if she were standing on the precipice of a vast chasm, the ground beneath her shaking. This was not merely about her art. It was a declaration of her identity, a confrontation of their expectations versus her truth. The silence stretched out like an eternity, pressing against her. Her father's brow furrowed, while her mother bit her lip, a subtle gesture that further tightened the knot in Anna's stomach. Each heartbeat echoed in her ears, reminding her of the vulnerability she had just laid bare. I want to be a painter," she reiterated, her voice trembling slightly. "I've been working on my art, and it means everything to me." The last words surged forward, propelled by a mixture of fear and excitement. They were the words she had practiced silently, infusing them with importance now exposed to their scrutiny. Her mother's expression softened at the mention of Anna's passion, yet uncertainty lingered in her eyes. "But what about your dreams of going to law school? Your father and I envisioned you taking over the family practice," she said gently, the hope in her voice hinting at disappointment creeping through. There it was, the familiar narrative of stability and tradition that had always defined their family dynamic. It struck at her like a physical blow, awakening the tension she had tried so hard to suppress. But Anna wouldn't recoil. Instead, she took a deep breath, summoning a determination that felt newly formed within her. "Art is my calling, Mom. I love it more than anything else, and I want to pursue it fully, not just as a hobby," she said, her voice gaining strength with each syllable. "I want to create, to inspire, to express myself. I thought you would understand." The room was still, each family member processing the divergence between Anna's dreams and familial expectations. Her father remained silent, his face inscrutable, while her mother looked down, fingers fidgeting in her lap. Anna's pulse thudded in her ears, stirring a mixture of rage and desperation within her. Why was acceptance conditional when love should be unconditional? "That's not practical, Anna," her father finally spoke, the weight of authority in his tone. "You need something stable, something you can rely on. Art is unreliable. His words were like an anchor, dragging her back down into doubt. No, Anna countered, her voice shaking but resolute. Art isn't unreliable. It's alive. It's what drives me. Just because it's unconventional doesn't mean it's any less real. That's not practical, Anna, her father finally spoke, the weight of authority in his tone. You need something stable, something you can rely on. Art is unreliable. His words were like an anchor, dragging her back down into doubt. No, Anna countered, her voice shaking but resolute. Art isn't unreliable. It's alive. It's what drives me. Just because it's unconventional doesn't mean it's any less real. The waterfall of emotions threatened to overflow, and shaky breaths had to remind her of the line she might not cross. She had come this far. Retreat was not an option. She turned to her sketchbook, opening it to display her paintings, vibrant hues spilling onto the page. This is me, she said, her voice softening yet fierce. These paintings are pieces of my soul. I can't give that up. For a moment, the silence in the room morphed into something profound. Her family's expressions shifted slightly, intrigue replacing some of the hesitation, the tiniest semblance of curiosity flickering in their eyes. Yet, as the moments expanded, uncertainty loomed. Did they see her, or were they simply contemplating how to stamp her aspirations back into the confines of expectations? The cacophony of thoughts within Anna resonated. Would she break through the barriers they held, or would she remain forever misunderstood? The air grew dense with unresolved tensions, an unspoken question hanging in the silence. Above all, Anna felt a yearning to break free, not just from her family's expectations, but from the very fear that plagued her for so long. As her gaze drifted, another flash of resolve ignited within her. She could shape her destiny, but it meant facing the resistance head-on. The flicker of hope mingled with the worry of rejection and the daunting potential for upholding her artistic spirit. Maybe, just maybe, I can convince them, she thought, her mind racing with ideas and strategies. Each scenario played out in vivid colors, a vibrant battle of courage against fear, desire against comfort. What if they came to see her truth as an extension of their legacy rather than a fracture? But amidst these thoughts, deeper questions churned in her mind, disguising themselves as potential revelations. Can they truly accept me? Will I still belong? The moment cracked open in front of her, and Anna's next steps were uncertain, a bright but precarious path filled with shadows. She felt ready yet terrified, determined yet vulnerable, the artist preparing to paint a masterpiece of her own life. And in that charged atmosphere, something shifted. Perhaps it was the rallying cry inside her, or the way her family's expressions began to transform. Now, she thought, the momentum building inside her like a rising tide. It's time for them to understand who I truly am. The uncertainty had not vanished, but the urgency was palpable. Would her family embrace her artistic endeavors, or would she need to muster the courage to forge a path alone? The answers danced just beyond reach, tantalizingly close, yet infinitely complex. The following day dawned with a sense of urgency threading through Anna's thoughts, a stark contrast to the muted atmosphere of yesterday's confrontation. The sun stretched across the sky, illuminating her art studio, her sanctuary, where colors danced and canvases whispered stories. For the first time, her artwork felt like both a battleground and a refuge. The vibrant hues that filled the space no longer just represented her creativity. They formed a tapestry woven with hope, defiance, and possibility. She approached her easel, standing still for a moment, absorbing the silence, reeling from the weight of her declaration. It hung over her like a veil, evoking a compulsion to paint not just for herself, but to communicate a message. She wanted her family to feel the passion that surged through her every brushstroke. This wasn't merely an act of rebellion, it was an invitation. As her brush grazed the canvas, Anna's mind became a whirlpool of ideas. What could effectively convey her love for art, her dreams, and her unyielding spirit? She envisioned a series dedicated to unveiling the dichotomy between familial expectations and personal truths. Each painting would symbolize a different emotional layer of her journey, reflecting the pain and joy of pursuing her calling against the backdrop of her family's aspirations. With newfound clarity, she mapped out a plan. Each canvas would articulate her desire to be free, not simply from her family's expectations, but also from her own ingrained doubts. The notion sparked an urgency within her, prompting a rapid pursuit of artistic expression. She painted fervently, pouring her heart into each hue, each brushstroke turning into an anthem of self-discovery. Days blurred as she submerged herself in her work, seeking out every nuance of emotion to portray. But amid the excitement, Anna grappled with a gnawing fear. Would her family ever truly understand? The nagging uncertainty shadowed her passion, muting the colorful palette she had so eagerly embraced. Could her art authentically represent her truth to those who mattered most? Later that week, Anna's resolve was put to the test. At a family dinner, she saw an opening, a chance to share her journey with them. Her heartbeat quickened as she navigated through the casual chatter, crafting the right moment to broach her artistic metamorphosis. "Mom, Dad," she began, her voice shaking with a mix of eagerness and fear. "I've been working on some new pieces. I want to show them to you. They come from a really important place in me, something I hope you can understand." The table quieted, and Anna's heart pounded painfully as they exchanged glances. She felt the tightening in her throat, a familiar place of vulnerability, but pressed on, convinced that this was her moment to bridge the gap. After dinner, she led them into her studio, the vibrant pigments and mixed media creating a palpable atmosphere, thick with the scent of inspiration. As she unveiled her first piece, the image of a young girl standing at a crossroads, painted in hues of fiery orange and deep blue, she spoke with conviction about each stroke. She opened up about the struggles, her dreams, a complexity of fears and hopes mingling into a vivid narrative. Yet, as she explained, she couldn't help but note the tension in her father's jaw and the reluctance in her mother's eyes. Acceptance still felt out of reach, the chasm they stood on gaping wider with each word she shared. But Anna's determination didn't waver. She decided that she would confront the doubt directly. "I know this is not what you dreamt for me," she said, her tone firm yet vulnerable. "But I need you to see me, not just as your daughter, but as an artist. I want this to be as meaningful for you as it is for me." The silence that followed was electric. Each second felt like an eternity, layering the tension thickly between them. Would this brave step forward be enough to shift perceptions? Or would she again have to fight for her dreams? "What if I have to prove my worth beyond this moment?" Anna questioned internally, a sense of urgency swirling within her. With her family standing on the edge of acceptance, Anna realized she had the power to rewrite the narrative. With her emotions painted on canvases, could she begin to rebuild her relationship with them, transcending the fear of rejection that loomed heavily over her? As the weight of the silence wavered, she sensed the potential spark of understanding flickering in the air. Yet she also felt the abyss of uncertainty lying just beneath the surface, and the real battle for acceptance may just be beginning. How far would she have to go to earn their love for who she truly was? With her heart racing, Anna awaited their response, acutely aware that the moment for clarity and confrontation had arrived. The silence in the studio stretched, an expanse filled with unspoken thoughts and unhealed wounds. Anna felt every heartbeat ricochet off the walls, amplifying her own trepidation. Her father's face, etched with incredulity, signaled the weight of his dismay, while her mother's slight furrowed brow hinted at an internal struggle. This was it, her moment to define her path, yet it felt dangerously precarious. "Anna," her father spoke finally, the words heavy yet hesitant. This isn't what we envisioned for you." The disappointment dripped from each syllable, but within it, Anna sensed both anger and concern. To him, life was a series of mapped roads, and she had just veered into uncharted territory. Desperation surged within her, urging her to fight against the onslaught of fear. "But this is my vision. It's not just a path, it's a part of who I am." She felt smaller under their scrutiny, not just as a daughter, but as a creator trembling at the precipice of their expectations. Her mother placed a gentle hand on her arm. "We just want what's best for you, honey. You've always had such potential. Going into the arts, it's risky." The concern was genuine, as if their protective instincts clung to her like a weighty shroud. Risky. The word echoed in her mind, a reminder of her fears and insecurities cascading back into focus. But isn't pursuing anything worth doing risky? It's risky to live a life dictated by what others want. The resolve settled in her chest, igniting a burning determination to shift this conversation, to repurpose their fears into understanding. She stepped closer to her canvases, feeling the energy radiate from them, her heart pounding in rhythm. "Let me show you why this matters to me," she implored. Inviting her family into the emotional folds of her artworks would require total vulnerability, rekindling past rejections, even as she revealed newfound strength. She moved next to another painting, one capturing the stormy sea beneath a rainbow sky. Its conflicting themes of danger, juxtaposed with hope, conveyed her pursuit to navigate tumultuous emotions. "This piece, it represents my journey, the struggles I face, not just with the canvas, but within my own heart." She gestured to the turmoil depicted. "It's about finding beauty in chaos. That's what art has taught me." As she recounted the experience leading to each stroke, she felt some of the tension easing. Hesitant expressions turned to contemplative silence as glimpses of understanding flickered in her parents' eyes. Yet a lingering doubt haunted her. Would they ever truly comprehend what was at stake? The truth buried within her. She closed her eyes for a moment, letting the emotions pour through, steering her toward deeper revelations. Each brushstroke was not just about rebellion. It was also mending the fractures within. "I realize now that it's not just about the art. It's my way of healing. I want you to support my growth as an artist, just as you always supported my education, my love for science, my dreams," she said with newly forged conviction. Another beat of silence stretched, and this time Anna held her breath, daring to envision the reaction that felt just beyond the reach of hope. The air was thick with unprocessed emotion, vulnerable yet resolute. How could they understand without acknowledging their own fears? Finally, her mother returned her gaze, a flicker of compassion in her eyes. "I think we need time, Anna. Time to understand how to support you." The affable tone was earnest, yet carried the weight of doubt. Time. The word gave Anna a flicker of hope, but also an unsettling dread. Time for negotiation, for healing, meant navigating a landscape fraught with potential misunderstandings. Anna lay her hands on her hips and steadied her resolve. "I'm willing to." "Be patient," she responded, her voice even, suppressing her instinct to either retreat or rebel. But let's promise to explore this together. I want to share my world with you, but it has to matter as much to you as it does to me. A promise sealed between them, yet shadows of uncertainty loomed still. Would they make the commitment to bridge that abyss between dreams and expectations? In that moment, Anna faced the reality of precarious progress, an intricate dance of patience, understanding, and resilience. As the night wore on, Anna realized this confrontation was merely an opening, an invitation for her to further explore her identity as both an artist and a daughter. Yet, amidst the fragile beginnings of acceptance, she felt the tremors of new challenges to overcome. Would she open new dialogues that would challenge her beliefs and ultimately her artistry? Would she be ready for the next confrontation as her family began to navigate this path with her? As the night deepened, the necessity for pursuit loomed. She had only just stepped onto the journey of mutual understanding, and the real test would unveil itself before her. As the sun began to rise and filtered through the half-drawn curtains of the studio, Anna sat amongst her canvases, her heart still racing from the previous night's revelations. The promise made to her parents lingered in the air, a delicate thread of hope that fluttered against the dark backdrop of uncertainty. With determination flickering in her chest, Anna picked up a brush, its familiar weight grounding her. She needed to channel the tumultuous emotions swirling inside into her art, every stroke translating her anxiety and resolve into something tangible. Darting between her vibrant colors and muted hues, she discovered that she was not merely painting, she was mapping out her emotional landscape, exploring depths she hadn't even acknowledged before. Each brushstroke felt like a conversation, a dialogue between her aspirations and her parents' perspectives. She wondered if pain could birth understanding, and with each layer she grew braver. Yet the shadows of self-doubt loomed larger still. Was this the right way to forge connections? What if this journey led her nowhere, leaving the bridge between her dreams and their expectations untraversable? The thought interrupted her rhythm and sent chills up her spine. Anna stopped, placing the brush down as she surveyed her work. Though the paints shimmered under the sunlight, the weight she bore was heavier than ever. Behind the rich colors, there was fear, a relentless worry that her artistic path would forever be seen as unworthy by the two people she loved most. Anna sat on the floor, arms wrapped around her knees, sinking into reflection. She needed someone to talk to, someone who would challenge her. Her best friend Mia, an artist herself, had always been a source of encouragement and perspective. Anna grabbed her phone, fingers hovering over the screen, contemplating whether to reach out. She would need to voice both her aspirations and her fears, an arduous, shrouded in vulnerability. Taking a deep breath, Anna dialed Mia's number. The moment her friend picked up, she felt a flicker of relief. It was as if a lifeline had been thrown her way. "Mia, can we meet? I have so much to talk about," she said, urgency creeping into her voice. "I can be at your place in 20 minutes," Mia replied, excitement lacing her words. As the call ended, Anna felt a surge of anticipation mixed with apprehension. Would Mia understand the weight of her world? Would she help dissect what mattered most? When Mia arrived, she was greeted with the vibrant chaos of Anna's studio. Canvases piled high, paintbrushes scattered, and remnants of half-finished masterpieces whispering for attention. The atmosphere buzzed with the possibility of dialogue. "Wow, you've been busy," Mia exclaimed, eyes wide as they took in the colorful tumult. Anna led Mia to an uncompleted canvas, the stormy sea under the rainbow sky. "This is where my heart is right now. I need to connect with my parents about my choices, but I'm terrified." The words spilled out as if a dam had broken. Anna's anxieties rushed forth, filling the space between them. Mia listened intently, nodding in understanding. "You have to remember, Anna, this is your truth. They may not see it yet, but it's valid, she said, her voice firm yet gentle. The reassurance settled over Anna like a comforting blanket, reminding her of the resilience she needed to foster within herself. As their conversation ebbed and flowed, Anna began to perceive her journey not just as a personal battle, but as a necessity to define her identity as both an artist and a daughter, an evolution that demanded courage to embrace imperfections and risks alike. With Mia's insights, she began to construct strategies for the conversations ahead, ways to express her vision while inviting her family into her world without undermining either side's hopes. Growth was not going to come easily. It demanded effort and confronting uncomfortable truths. Yet as she shared her newfound clarity with Mia, Anna felt the first stirrings of readiness to embrace that challenge. She recognized how integral this journey was, both as an artist and a person carving her own path through the noise of expectation. With renewed focus, she considered the next steps. Would they engage in a deeper discussion on her aspirations? Would she have the tenacity to face potential rejection, understanding that love could still exist even amidst differences? Anna inhaled deeply as determination surged within her. The dialogues were inevitable, but they were going to be her own, led by her voice, her vision, and her artistry. The flicker of courage transformed into a steady flame, illuminating the path before her. And as the colors swirled on the canvas, she understood the real test had only just begun. What might it take for her to bridge the emotional divide and foster true understanding with her parents? As she dipped her brush into the vivid paint, she felt the weight of the next challenge on the horizon, a moment where she would have to decide whether to stand firm in her truths or compromise for acceptance. The stakes were higher than ever, and Anna was ready to confront her greatest fear yet. As Anna stood before her easel, the familiar sense of paint and turpentine filled the air, reminding her of the journey she had taken over the past few weeks. The canvases around her reflected more than just her artistic aspirations. They embodied her growth, her struggle, and the clarity she had finally achieved in merging her passion for art with her life's greatest challenge, her family's expectations. The previous night had marked a pivotal moment. Her parents had begun to understand her heart's deep yearning for creative expression. They hadn't fully embraced her decision yet, but Anna was no longer weighed down by the fear of rejection. Instead, she felt empowered. This new sense of resolve blossomed like a sunflower reaching for the sun, strong and eager to embrace life. Determined, Anna set to work on her latest piece, a vibrant depiction of a woman standing at the edge of a cliff, painting the sky in brilliant strokes of pink and gold, representing hope and freedom. Each brushstroke became a meditation, fusing her love for art with her newly affirmed identity. As she created, she reflected on her conversations with Mia, the encouragement of Jack, and the undercurrents of love and doubt that flowed through her family. Days passed, and Anna pushed herself to showcase her art. She decided to host a small exhibition in her studio, inviting her family first. It was time to shift the narrative from a passive acceptance of their expectations to an active sharing of her reality. She crafted invitations, carefully selecting pieces that demonstrated her journey through colors, themes, and emotions. The night of the exhibition felt electric. Each canvas, each detail resonated with her truth. As her family arrived, the warmth of familiarity clashed with the nervous tension riding in Anna's stomach. Would they recognize her growth? Would they truly see her for who she was becoming? Steeling herself, she welcomed her parents inside. "I want to share my world with you," she began, her voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through her veins. "Please walk through the stories I've painted." As they moved through the room, Anna watched her father studying a piece that depicted a stormy sea with a single vibrant rainbow cutting through dark clouds. "This represents my journey of overcoming fear," she explained, her heart racing as she said the words aloud. "The storm is my self-doubt, but the rainbow is the hope that emerges from embracing my passions." Her father nodded slowly, an expression of contemplation washing over him. "I can see where you're coming from," he murmured, his brow furrowed as he processed the layers of meaning. Next, her mother paused before the painting that featured a girl standing at that same cliff, painting the horizon. "Is that you?" she asked, her voice soft yet searching. "Yes, Mom. It reflects me stepping into my truth, leaving the past behind," Anna replied. Each word felt like a bridge, a step toward mutual understanding. The vulnerability in her voice seemed to crack their walls just a little more. As the evening continued, Anna envisioned her family not as reviewers of her work, but as fellow explorers stepping into her world, witnessing her heart. She shared her struggles and aspirations, igniting conversations she had long desired to initiate but feared. Their responses, while still reserved, sparked a deeper reckoning. "We've never thought about it this way," her mother admitted. "We've always wanted what we believed was best for you, but maybe we need to learn to support who you really are, not just who we've envisioned you to be." Stepping away from the canvases, Anna could feel the cracks in their walls begin to widen, allowing for more light to seep through. The dialogue shifted from uncertainty to possibility, and Anna felt a warmth spread through her chest. This was growth, not just for her, but for her family, a reunion of sorts, blending their realities with her dreams. As the night came to a close, Anna's heart soared. The conversations had shifted her family's perceptions, but they had also solidified her resolve in pursuing her artistic dreams unapologetically. She had mastered the art of vulnerability, proving that true connection was stronger than the fear of rejection. Weeks turned into months, and the challenges of marrying her ambitions with familial ties remained. However, the fortitude she had built through this transformative journey was tangible. With every stroke of her brush, Anna created not just art, but her identity, a glorious tapestry of aspirations, love, and acceptance. Anna now stood firmly on the precipice of her life, painted in all its vibrant hues. Dreams that had once felt buried beneath obligation were alight, radiant in their authenticity. No longer a mere caretaker, she was a creator, recognizing that both roles could coexist, nurtured by her passion. The love between her and her family deepened as they navigated their unique paths together, and she accomplished her goal to pursue her art while maintaining the bonds that mattered. With an unwavering sense of confidence, she stepped into the future, ready to express not just herself, but the universality of dreams that transform lives. It had been a long journey, but it was one filled with profound evolution and joy. And in her heart, Anna knew this was just the beginning. She was not only a painter, but a testament to redefined love and acceptance. Now, you need to subscribe immediately to this channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm, making our community even stronger. Comment your reactions and theories about Anna's journey, and don't forget to share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to witness the power of transformation. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait even one more second to share.